Hello and good morning on this beautiful sunny Saturday, the 14th of August. Just wanted to say happy Shitala Satam to anyone who is fasting, who's celebrating. Hope it all goes well. It's a day where Randan Chat was yesterday and we make Tandu Kavanu. What has people made? I've made some tepla and sweet corn nusak, makai nusak with a bit of sweet potato chips to have at lunchtime. What have you made? I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who messaged in regarding last week's show where we had Maharaj Hemangpat with us, who was explaining what Shravan Mahino is, the different days within Shravan Mahino, about Abhishek Puja, and you found it interesting, and thank you so much for messaging because your feedback is always much appreciated and we love hearing, and especially to Madhubala who got in touch and everybody else. So thank you for your messages. Did you know that yesterday was Happy Left-Handers Day? I certainly didn't. I found out later on yesterday. And just celebrating people who may be left-handed. I mean, Boris, you're left-handed, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
And there were some interesting facts that, there was quite a lot of interesting facts. Some I'm not sure, but it said that left-handed people are more likely to be male. Left-handed people are better at multitasking. I'm not sure, but if you are, please do let us know. And something that I didn't know, you can actually get a pen for left-handed people. So that was quite interesting and fascinating. But for today's show, we are basing it on the theme around those who have got their A Level and GCSE results. They came out earlier this week, A Levels on Tuesdays and GCSE on Thursday. And it's just been a very difficult, challenging time, the way students have had to perform their exams, the way online classes and going back to school. It's just been really a mixture of different scenarios where it hasn't been the way it traditionally would have been. But I think children up and down the country, teenagers, whatever situation they've been in, we have to congratulate them and just commend them for their hard work and adapting to all the changes that they've been presented with. So for those who have been sitting their exams, who sat their exams and got the results, you know what? Pat yourself on the back because you've done amazingly well coping with all the changes we've had. Today, our two guests we have got is Priya Amlani, who is an anxiety specialist, and Soulma Hosany, who will be joining us, who's a career advisor. So in case those students who may have not got their desired grades, what is the next step? How to manage, how to deal with those kind of emotions, but just, for families and parents, relatives, grandparents as well. And we'll be talking about, how to manage emotions, how to deal with these situations if your desired situation hasn't gone too well. So we're going to go to our first song and we'll be joined by Priya straight after the song. So the first song we are playing is School Ki Din from the film Always Kabhi Kabhi.
कोई आंखों में जो मीठे मीठे सपने क्या ये दिल करे पहले पहले दिन की ये नई नई सुबह आओ चिल करे हमको चबाते जाए सबको बताते जाए अपनी हसरतें यार मत भूले जगह है ये बड़ी कुल सुनो सुनो जरा लेट मी से भूलेंगे हम तो नहीं सोचेंगे हम भी कभी स्कूल के ये दिन सभी आएंगे ना 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 सीखेंगे हम ये यही है क्या गलत आएंगे ना 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 hoga, I'ma do my thing. I'ma be rich, dressed in bling. I'ma spread ishq and make you sing. School's out, hear the bell ring. Tera kya hoga, I'ma do my thing. I'ma be rich, dressed in bling. I'ma spread ishq and make you sing. Theory में कमजोर है practical champion. तोड़ दे हम दीवारों को है bones में calcium. पढ़ने से जो हो ना हो टीचर से प्यार हो. फ्यूचर हो रास्ते पे आंखों में स्टार्स हो. डर वर घर छोड़े जो भी मिले उसे छेड़े मस्ती में चले. कीड़े बने खाने लगे ऐसे क्यों किताबों को चश्मे लग गए. साइंस पढ़े आर्ट्स पढ़े दिन पढ़े रात पढ़े कुछ भी ना पढ़े. सर पे जो डंडे हैं सिलेबस गंदे हैं फिर भी हम कहें भूलेंगे हमको नहीं सोचेंगे हम भी कभी. स्कूल के ये दिन सभी आएंगे ना 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 ना. सीखेंगे हम ये यही है क्या गलत क्या सही. स्कूल के ये दिन सभी आएंगे ना 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 ना. आएंगे ना.
And that was our first track for this morning, School Ki Din, from the film Always Kabhi Kabhi. So we are joined by our first guest, Priya Amlani, who is an anxiety specialist. Welcome, Priya, to BHF Radio. How are you this morning?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me, Bhavini.
Yeah, and it's my pleasure to have you back on, because I know you came on the show, I think, back in January, earlier this year. So it's always a pleasure to have you back on. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do?
So I'm an anxiety specialist and I am an NLP master practitioner. I am a facilitator of strengthening families, strengthening communities. I work basically with children, teenagers and families, and I have been doing that over the last 10 years.
Interesting, thank you. And you know, we brought you today to talk about how to cope and manage with emotions that perhaps students who did not do so well, didn't achieve the predicted grades that they expected to. You know, there were a lot of changes. So, you know, I feel that, you know, we should congratulate them for their efforts nonetheless. But, you know, if they had a preference in going to a particular college or university and they haven't, you know, the feelings of sadness or perhaps even anger. I know my daughter who got her results on Thursday, and just sharing what her friends may have been going through. What kind of tips can you share for those kind of emotions?
So I think the first thing for all the children, teenagers listening is it's okay to feel sad and angry. It's an emotion. It's okay to have these feelings. They do come and it shows that you care. Right? These are normal. It shows that you care and it was important to you. But, you know, if we keep staying in these emotions, then we can't do much about it. We have to channel it in a positive way. So it's very important to feel the feelings, but take the learnings from the situation. And whenever we take learnings from whatever's happened, if you've not got the predicted grade or you're disappointed with your result, or for some who failed, it's very important to take whatever learnings you can from this and use it as an opportunity to step up. And that's when the feelings will subside. But if we're there just blaming others, or we're thinking, oh, the teachers didn't understand us and the pandemic is so bad and it's because of the pandemic, or the government was unfair to us and the education system was unfair to us, then these feelings will increase. So stop the blame. Appreciate yourself. It's okay to feel this. Take the learnings and you'll be able to move on. And I always say to people, there is no failure. We teach this in NLP a lot, which is neuro-linguistic programming. There is no failure. It's only feedback. And FAIL stands for first attempt in learning. So you don't have to have failed, even if you got a less grade than you expected. It's your first attempt in learning. Learn what you can do differently next time.
Yeah, and that's great advice. But also I know that sometimes parents, relatives, grandparents, you know, just those around us, kind of unexpected or unintentionally, shall I say rather, put pressure on children. And if they're also feeling a bit disappointed, you know, how should they deal with this situation?
So I think regards parental disappointment, I think it's okay to share your vulnerability and your sadness, because then your children learn to share emotions rather than suppress them. But if you're getting angry and shouting at your children and saying you should have done better and I told you to revise and you didn't wake up on time, then that's not helpful. But I'm recently working with a case actually where she didn't do very well last year, and she's now got a fear of failure because she heard her mom cry in a separate room, but she's never told her mother that she knows her mom was crying. And the mom never cried because the child was a disappointment. The mom was just sad for the child. So there's so many gaps there because of lack of communication. So if you're upset, talk about it, share the emotions together. But don't tell your children off at this time. This is not the time to tell them off or take your anger out on them or belittle them.
Yeah, and exactly what you say. I think it is about sitting down together and having those open conversations. I know, there are so many families who just struggle with that, just sitting down and having these open conversations. How, for someone who may be new to that, or it's not something they tend to do, how could they begin? How can they begin to open a conversation to encourage their child, teenager to start talking about how they're feeling, perhaps?
Okay, so I'd like to take this from a different angle first. I think parents are always doing the best they can for the children. So if we start separating how we are as parents from the results of our children, what I mean is, whether your child is successful or not, whether they got the grade or not, you are a good parent. When you can separate that I am a good mother, I am a good father, regardless of the results or whatever your child's going through, then you can see the situation from more neutral point. So then there won't be any pressure, or you won't feel like you're upset by the child. And usually you're not upset by the child, you're upset with yourself as a parent. But also I think parents see failure or disappointment as a source of pain for the child. And because they see that as a source of pain, rather than as an opportunity to show their children that they're resilient, that they can deal with it, you'll be okay no matter what, they go into the protective mode. And that's why we shut down. So I think as parents, if we change our mindset, first, accept that a child's success or not being successful is not directly related to us as a parent. And secondly, our duty as parents is not to keep protecting them, but to show children they're resilient, create this opportunity. So when we shift this mindset, then you can start having those conversations on the dinner table. And it doesn't happen overnight. So if you've not had these conversations before and your child's not done as well this time, it might not be the right time to start this now. But I think I would change that question slightly and say, what does your child need right now? What they need right now is for you not to dismiss their feelings, good or bad. Because they might be happy with their grade, but you're not happy with their grade, right? So it's not the time to dismiss their feelings. Don't try and fix things very quickly. Don't rush to solve, or what should we do next? And, should we call your school or call your teacher and stuff? Let your child process what they're going through. Let them self-regulate. Self-regulation is a very, very important skill to have. So I would start with just accepting your child's feelings. Don't dismiss their feelings. Don't rush to fix things, and let your child process things, and then show them that you're available to hear anything from them. Be present, even if it's middle of the night. If they're feeling sad, tell them, anytime you feel like this, knock on my door. You're here, come to my room. Whether you feel it in the daytime or you message me if I'm at work. And I think this is how we start building that connection.
Yeah, no, thank you. Stay with us, Priya. We're just going to go to another song, and then we'll continue the conversation. The next song is from the film Student of the Year.
प्रेशर कुकर जैसे सर की बज जाए ना सीटी तब तक मार रट्टा मार हो पटक पटक के सर गिरा दे नॉलेज की दीवार रट्टा मार चढ़ जाए जो बुखार कॉफी से तू उतार घिस घिस के भेजा कर ले तेज धार यार रट्टा मार ओ रट्टा मार रट्टा मार रट्टा मार ओ भूल जाए एवरेस्ट चढ़ जा तू किताबों के पहाड़ 100 बार रट्टा मार ओ टक पक ब्रेन को तोड़ा उसको चाबुक मार जोरदार रट्टा मार डर के मिलेगा क्या लेगा क्या तू उखाड़ कट कट के पीछा टॉनिक जीत का यार रट्टा मार रट्टा मार रट्टा मार रट्टा मार At the end of the day, ऊपर तेरे लकी है परफॉर्मेंस की तलवार ऐसी दरिया है ये रिमेंबर कर ले जो डूबे वो ही होता है पार जो भी आए यहाँ पे उसको चांस एक मिलती है हर नजर की यहाँ पे सोचो एक मंजिल ही है मौका मिले तो खोना नहीं कि आएगा ना ये बार बार रट्टा मार रट्टा मार रट्टा मार रट्टा मार
And that was Ratamar from the film Student of the Year. Before we continue, we've just had a message from a lady called Jasuben Kotecha who says, excellent topic. My son received his A-level results this week and we're so proud of him. But he feels quite disappointed and has shut down. He doesn't really want to talk. He knows that his grandparents are expecting him to go into medicine, just like his uncles and his older brother who is a GP. My son wants to become a graphic designer and has no idea how to break this news to his grandparents, and it breaks my heart to see him sad that he wants to follow something he wants to do, but he knows he's letting his grandparents down. Do you have any tips on how we can manage with this situation? Wow, Priya, can you shed any light on this?
Yeah, sure. So thank you, Jasuben. This is very common. We've been brought up with generations of trying to please our parents and grandparents, and I think it's nice that you support your son and you're helping him and supporting him, and it's about how to share this with his grandparents. And I think we have to start realizing that our grandparents are resilient. They have seen a lot of adversity in their life, and yeah, they may have expectations, but if he tries to please them, then he's not going to be happy for the rest of his life, and then he will be resentful to them. So it's in his best interest, and it's in the best interest of the grandparents and the relationship, for him to be open and honest. You know, I mean, our grandparents and parents have seen so much. Seeing a grandchild be happy, they will be happy. You know, he's probably assuming the worst, he's probably preparing in his head, overthinking it, and worrying about the reaction and stuff. So give him space, empathize with him, let him process it, and when he's ready, he can talk to the grandparents. And if he doesn't feel he can do that, you can do that for him. If you show him you love and support him no matter what, he will find that strength. So I hope that helps, Jasuben. But I'm just grateful that you are supporting him, and that's really nice. And you know, just believe, tell him you're proud of him no matter what, but give him space, because it's only been a few days, it's not even been a week since they've got their results. Give him space, empathize, let him process it. Go through scenarios. What's the worst the grandparents would say? How could he handle it? You know, get him to imagine a successful outcome. So that's what helps with the anxiety of speaking to somebody. If you imagine the conversation going successfully, the anxiety drops, and then you're able to have that conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Priya. Priya, we've just had another question come in, and I think you've kind of touched upon it, but because they've messaged and I've just seen it now, I'm going to ask it anyway. My daughter got her GCSE results, and we're so proud of the results she's achieved. It's the new system in the way that the grading is now. I'm used to the letters, whereas this is in numbers. She was expecting to get all A stars, and she has come out with A, B's and C's, and she is very disappointed. She's been in her bedroom for the last 2 days, and she won't talk, and she's hardly eating. We're trying to tell her that we're so proud of her, they're fantastic results, but she's so disappointed in herself. I don't know what to do.
Okay, so I think yeah, it's a very valid question. We see it a lot. We see parents who are very proud. I think, again, I would say give her space, but ask her, what is it that she wants? What are her worries? What are her concerns? Because she might be making it much worse in her head than it is. She might be scared that people laugh at her. A lot of children, I've been working with a teenager actually at the moment who feels she has to live up to a label of being the smartest in class. And that's a high pressure. Yeah. To help her see these labels are given to her by other people. It might be that there's a label she's trying to live up to, either given to her by her peers, her teachers, friends, or herself, and help her see that, you know, it's okay. In terms of she's in her bedroom and will not talk or eat, I think it's very important that you go outside the bedroom. Just tell her you're there. Tell her you're willing to sit and just be with her. Don't give her solutions. Just be with her. Say, even if you have to put your chair outside the bedroom, and just tell her you're there. You're there to empathize, right? So I don't want you to try to fix it and say, eat and please talk to us and we're here and we love you. Say it's okay to feel what you're feeling. It's fine. It will pass. We're here. Come give us a hug. If you can find a space in yourself where you felt this, share that story with her. Tell her that you've been there. Share your vulnerabilities and tell her how you overcame it. And I think that's a really good way to help them, rather than try and fix it and force her to eat. But, you know, maybe put food outside the door and say, eat whenever you're ready. We respect that. So that's what I do. But empathy creates connection. Don't try and fix it, because that will just disconnect right now. All she wants is to be understood. And then once she's calmed down, she's feeling better, you can talk about the logical next steps. But understanding why she's so upset. Was she expecting anything different? Does she feel she's let somebody down? You know, is she living up to a label? These are things to talk about.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you, Josuben, and this person who wanted to remain anonymous. I hope you found that useful. It certainly is very insightful. Priya, we're coming towards the end of your segment. Is there any other final tips you would like to share, or if people want to find out more about what you're doing, want to get in touch, are you able to share any final tips, or and also how people can reach you?
Yeah, so the final tip I'd like to share is, especially with the 2 cases we've come, and there'll be a lot of people like that. Any positive behaviors you see, praise it. So if your daughter comes out of the room, or the son comes out of the room, just praise that. Say, oh, we're grateful that you feel you can come and sit with us. So praise the behavior you want to see. Don't make a big deal like, why have you taken so long? So always praise the behavior you want to see. That will increase it. Be empathetic. If you want to have more questions, or you want to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me through my website. It's amlanicoaching.com. Or I have a Facebook group called Overcoming Anxiety and Positive Parenting, and you're welcome to join there and ask questions on there, and I'll be happy to support and answer any of those for anybody going through this right now.
Yeah, thank you, Priya, so much for coming on BHF Radio this morning, and as always, it's very useful having you on, sharing your expertise, because I learn different things each time you're on. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. You're doing a great job, Bhavini. Thanks.
Thank you. So we will be joined by Soulma, who's a career advisor. So if you have any questions regarding what, anything you'd like to ask about next steps, feel free to get in touch with me by email, bhavini@bhfradio.org.uk, or you can message through the BHF Radio app. And if you go into dedications, you can put your message through there. Or if you know me on Facebook, you can private message or get in touch with me if you have my contact details. So feel free to get in touch, and we'll be speaking to Soulma straight after the next track, which is Papa Hai Kehte.
सब यार अपने सबके दिलों में अरमा ये है बैठे हैं मिलके सब यार
इंजीनियर का काम करेगा, बिजनेस में कोई अपना नाम करेगा, मगर ये तो कोई न जाने कि मेरी मंजिल है कहाँ। पापा कहते हैं बड़ा नाम करेगा। मेरा तो सपना है एक चेहरा, देखे जो उसको जो मैं बाहर। मेरा तो सपना है एक चेहरा, देखे जो उसको जो मैं बाहर। गालों में खिलती कलियों का मौसम, आंखों में जादू, होठों में प्यार, बंदा ये खूबसूरत काम करेगा, दिल की दुनिया में अपना नाम करेगा। मेरी नजर से देखो तो यारो कि मेरी मंजिल है कहाँ। पापा कहते हैं बड़ा नाम करेगा।
And that was Papa Hekete from the film Kematse. And we are joined by Soulma Hosany, who is a careers advisor. Good morning, Soulma. Hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Yes, you have, Soulma. Thank you. Good morning, Bhavini. Nice to hear you. Enjoying this lovely topic, actually. It's been really nice listening to Priya. So thanks, Priya. Very insightful.
Yeah, Soulma, just for our listeners and first time coming on BHF Radio, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, sure. I've worked in careers advice, literally all my working career. So I won't give away my age, but over 20 years worth. I've done it with sort of unemployed people, long-term people who've come out of prison, and I've also done it with young people who kind of left school with like really bad grades and or no GCSEs or good grades but kind of ended up doing nothing really. So I've worked with a range of ages and people, and I currently consult the career leaders in secondary schools and colleges so that they can implement the best careers education for kids.
Ah, interesting. So before we move forward, what is a careers advisor?
So essentially, it's just somebody who gives advice and guidance to whoever it might be around career pathways and careers, and that will incorporate everything from looking at skills, passions, interests to education, qualifications. So it encompasses everything around advising and guiding somebody, I guess, to get into the best career pathway for themselves.
Yeah. So in this kind of situation where students may have perhaps not achieved their right grades that they wanted to get into that college or sixth form or university, what kind of like tips could you share for them?
It's really, obviously, I know it's really difficult when students don't get the grades either that they want or sometimes students kind of know that they probably won't do too well in GCSEs. And as we all know, it's especially with maths and English, you really do need it for a lot of careers. I mean, equally in a lot of jobs, you don't need it. But I always say that no matter what, try and get those. So there's loads of different options, but I think people are and it's not their fault. It's the way the school system is and the education system, and the government have put in statutory guidance that the schools must now follow. So careers education is changing because there's too much emphasis on pushing kids into A levels and university, but there's actually other post-16 options out there. Mm-hmm. I know we mentioned things like apprenticeships, and people immediately think low pay, rubbish jobs or whatnot, but actually apprenticeships have changed a lot, and there's some really, really good opportunities, and it allows students, especially from more disadvantaged or deprived backgrounds, to get a qualification, not get into debt, and get that skills and experience. And by the time they're like 20, 21, their career has taken off. Like, I know people who are literally kind of, I guess, earning, let's say, 30, 40,000 by the time they're 21, whereas other students are leaving university in debt and struggling to get a job. So, I think it's definitely worth a consideration. There's also other options. So, like, let's say, for instance, you didn't get your GCSE grades. Let's say you didn't get your maths and English. I strongly, strongly, strongly suggest to young people that, look, go to college and do the functional skills, because it's different from your GCSE exams. Okay, so if you can't resit the exams, you can resit, by the way. If anyone didn't know, you've got a deadline to put in for a resit, and you have to resit it. I think it's by September or October. So you can resit any exams that you wish. You need to get in touch with your school to get that organised. But let's say, for example, you really didn't want to resit it, or, you just didn't want to do that. That's fine as well. You can retake GCSEs in college. And there's two pathways, which I'll quickly talk about. You can either do functional skills in maths and English, and usually a college will allow you to do that alongside a course, which a lot of people don't know. So you could do a BTEC level 3, which is equivalent to A levels, by the way. It's equivalent to 3 A levels, the same UCAS points. But it's more practical, it's more assessment-based, because not everyone is suited to exams, and that's fine. So it's more coursework, it's assessed as the course goes along. And a lot of them will say, yes, you can do this course as long as you do your maths and English alongside it. Now, functional skills is, again, more practical. And I recently sat it just purely, I had my GCSE maths, but it was so long ago. And I was like, you know what, my work was offering it. So I did the functional skills, English and maths, just to see. Yeah. And actually, it is definitely more practical. So, you've got that opportunity again to get that equivalent to that GCSE when you pass the functional skills, English and maths. It is equivalent. So, don't think it's not, blah, blah, blah. It is. So that's one option. The other option is a lot of colleges offer GCSE packages. So let's say you didn't do too well, or you didn't get the grades you wanted, and you didn't want to resit, or you couldn't resit, or whatever it is. You can look for the colleges that offer a GCSE package. And what they do is you would do your 5 to 7 GCSEs. So it's literally like resitting your GCSEs, but you do it over a year or 2 years. So, those options are there, and they're worth considering in terms of education-wise for somebody who's 16, And like I said, you've got the apprenticeships as well for post-16. There's also pathways as well, which people don't realise. So let's say you thought, do you know what, I want to go into hospitality. I really love it. I love cooking. I love catering. I want to go into hospitality. There's pathways as well that you could just Google it. There's loads of training providers that might be in your local area, and they will put together like a 8-week, 12-week pathway, they call it. So in that 12 weeks, you'll study towards your, let's say, your food safety, your hygiene certificate, customer service, level 2, and you'll also get the work experience. And at the end of that 12 weeks, you go for all these job interviews that they set up. And then you basically start off, I guess, entry level in those kind of jobs. And there's loads of pathways for students out there, from IT to catering, construction, health and beauty. So they're probably usually the more, I guess, practical type jobs. So again, there are different options, but it just depends which direction you want to go in or what you're thinking about.
That's quite interesting. So in terms of if say someone was interested in finding out more about these pathways or the different options, would they first kind of search where they want to do it and see what they're offering, or would they just simply put different pathways into Google or any internet browser and see what they come up with? What would be the best step forward?
Yeah, it really depends. Like I said, if you want to, let's say you're thinking about, okay, I didn't get the grades, but I still want to study, then go and speak to a college. Now, sixth forms, as we know, are pretty much focused on A levels. So, you know, realistically, they're a bit more not so flexible, I'm going to say, if I'm honest with you. Okay,
Yeah.
they will want to have the grades. So you're going to have to go and find colleges, so mainstream colleges. They are flexible. Go speak to them. Don't worry about phoning. Just physically go down there. There's someone there who will be sitting there who can advise you, who can, they'll talk to you. There's always a careers advisor there as well. So with that, I'd say physically go in and have a chat with the colleges and go to different colleges. You'll get a feel for them. In terms of like apprenticeships, there's quite a few. You can go online, obviously, and Google them. But I'll just get up. So you can go to National Career Service. There's a website there. You've got the Gov website, which is if you just type in find apprenticeships on Gov UK, there's an actual gov.uk website for finding apprenticeships. There's a website called Not Going to Uni. So they outline a lot of, options for people who are not considering going to university. You've got the actual UCAS website as well that also has other pathways and other information in there. There's amazingapprenticeships.com as well. And then you've got Institute of Technical Education and Apprenticeships as well. So, I mean, feel free to sort of reach out to me after. I can email you all these links, Bhavini, and you can pop them up. It's not a problem. Also, your local borough will also have a careers advice service. So, for example, in Redbridge, there's Connections. In Hackney, there's Prospects. In Waltham Forest, there's Post 16 Careers Hub. So each borough usually has some sort of Post 16 support. So if you go to your local borough's website and then type in careers support or careers, there's something will come up. Not the job centre, that's completely different. There should be a Post 16 support service there. And you've also got Connections spelt with X's, so not CONNEXC, it's CONNEXION, so there's Connections as well. So there are various services that you can go to. Your school should also have access to a careers advisor, and you should be able to speak to someone at your school as well.
Yeah, and for those that are not based in London, check out your local authority website. It should be similar as checking out your local borough if we are talking in terms of London.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so stay with us. I've got a couple of more questions. We're going to go to our next track, which is actually called Right to Education, and then we'll continue this conversation on.
Sure.
Dang, dang, dang. सुनो घंटी बजी स्कूल की चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे पल 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 रोशनी जो मिली स्कूल की जगमगाओगे तुम बन के तारे कॉपी और किताबें सारी स्कूल देगा यूनिफॉर्म भी तुम्हारी स्कूल देगा स्कूल अब घर से दूर नहीं है हम हो गए पहुंचोगे स्कूल के गेट पर तुम थोड़ा सा भी जो चले प्यार और नरमी से तुमको पढ़ाएंगे टीचर है ऐसे भले सच 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 प्रीत अब है यही स्कूल की कभी टीचर ना बच्चों को मारे
सुनो घंटी बजी स्कूल की चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे
लाइब्रेरी में जो पढ़ना हो स्कूल देगा स्कूल देगा दोपहर में खाना भी दो और स्कूल देगा स्कूल देगा पढ़ना भी है और है खेलना भी है दोनों बातें यहाँ ध्यान उनका भी पूरा रखा गया है ये जान ले लड़कियां वो जो पढ़ेंगी जो आगे बढ़ेंगी तो बदलेगा हिंदुस्तान घर 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 शिक्षा जब पहुंचेगी स्कूल की शक्ति पाएंगे निर्बल भी सारे
सुनो घंटी बजी स्कूल की चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे
चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे
चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे शिक्षा मेरा
And that was the song Right to Education. Just doing a quick shout out to Chirag Patel, who's messaged that he's listening and he's enjoying the program and he would like a song. So if you can let us know what song that is, we will definitely play it next Saturday. And thank you for tuning in, Chirag. So Soulma, back to this interesting discussion about the different options that are available. And you know,
Yes.
we have a kind of perception that apprenticeships and the different options you've kind of explored with us are only open to those who may have not achieved the grades that they wanted. But actually, anyone can apply for apprenticeships, right?
Yes, absolutely, definitely. You know, I touched upon it just before the break about apprenticeships, and you know, there's so many apprenticeships now that companies are offering. Now, I work with many, many employers. I match employers to schools to help them to support students. I work with HR and CEOs and you know, all people from all walks of life, project managers, all from companies like TfL, like KPMG, Ernst and Young, really, really big organizations, even NHS. And all of the employers said the same thing to me, that they choose people with skills and experience over qualifications. Okay, so that's the key thing it's moving towards now. So people like Transport for London, TfL, and then you've got like NHS, which are huge. And, you know, most people just think, oh, it's just doctors and nurses. It really is not. There's so many other options within the NHS. It's absolutely huge. It's one of the biggest employers there is within the UK. But you've also got like your, you know, bigger companies like the KPMGs and, you know, Ernst & Young, who are financial companies. You've got Google, you've got Indeed, you know, all these people recruit staff. They all offer apprenticeships. Now, think of it this way. If you graduated and you were offered a job with Google, okay, you'd be over the moon. You'd be like, oh my God, I got a job with Google, blah, blah. Yet they offer apprenticeships and people be like, no, go to uni, don't take an apprenticeship. It's like, do you know how hard it is to get a job with these people? You know, so what I'm saying is there's some really, really good apprenticeships and they pay well. And with apprenticeships, I will be honest, you do need to have your 5 GCSE passes. You do. Without that, they won't take you. So at the moment on the current grading system, you have to have a 4 and above, and some apprenticeships will say 5 and above. Okay, so as long as you've got 5 and above in maths and English, and you've got at least 5 GCSE passes, they will definitely consider you. Now you have different apprenticeships. So you've got the apprenticeships, which is for school leavers, which is where you just need your GCSEs. And then you've got apprenticeships, which are graduate level apprenticeships. Now with that, you then need your equivalent to UCAS points. So whether that's for a BTEC or your A levels, and they will require that you have a certain pass level for that as well. And then those options, depending on which one, whether it's a graduate apprenticeship or a school leaver apprenticeship, obviously, will determine the level of qualification. So you might go and do a apprenticeship for level 4 and 5, which is equivalent to A levels, or you might do an apprenticeship, which is graduate, which is going to be level 6, 7, equivalent to a degree. Okay.
Right.
And I'm sure most people know, but just very briefly, apprenticeship is where you work and study at the same time. The employer pays for your qualification. A lot of graduate apprenticeships, how it works is they pay for your university. So depending on the employer, so let's take the police, for example, right? Let's say you wanted to do their graduate detective scheme. They do a detective scheme, or a police constable scheme as well. You would work 6 months on the B, and you'd learn a bit about, the practical side. Then you go off to uni for 18 months and you just do university. So and they're paying for it, and they pay you a salary. And then when you finish that, you go back and you do another year on the beat, and then you go straight into a job. So people don't understand this about different apprenticeships. TfL, they release you. So they might say you've got like a few weeks to go to university. What they won't do is make you work and study. When you say work and study at the same time, what I mean by that is they'll understand that right now you're going to study, so we're giving you that time to study. Right now you're at work, so you work, I think a lot of people think that when you're doing apprenticeships, it's hard because you've got to work and study. You do, but it's not simultaneous. So it's actually doable. So there's a whole host of apprenticeships. What I will mention is a lot of the apprenticeships, especially the graduate ones, they're going cohorts, because where you're doing a degree, degrees tend to start in September, October, right? Yeah. So some universities will start in January as well. So they'll have, like, for example, you might have to apply in April, May in order to get an October one, or you might have to apply now to get a January one. With the school leaver ones, it's different. They start, different times, it's constant. So that's just something to bear in mind. So if you thought, actually, I want an NHS apprenticeships, they do so many different apprenticeships in NHS, and you think, actually, I want to do this. I want to go into project management for NHS. Like that's really good job, a lot of money involved when you get to band 9 and 8 and things like that. You can contact, you can look at the website, you can contact someone from NHS, like the HR personnel, have a chat. When are you going to be next recruiting? What do you look for? What would you like me to put in application? I think people are scared to ring up companies and ask, and actually that's the best way, because you're empowering yourself and you'll know what they're looking for and how to apply. So I hope that answers your question about apprenticeship. But there's a lot to cover, so I won't go on and on.
No, it's been really fascinating, and I'm really sad because it's coming towards the end of our show, and I know there's so much we can cover. Is there any final things that you would like to finish off with? We've got about a minute.
Okay, I will say that with A levels as well, by the way, if you didn't quite get the grade you wanted to get onto your degree, contact the university. They offer foundation courses, which will be an extra year, but it enables you to still do the degree that you wanted after that year. And one more final word is please, just, stay inspired. There's so many options. Nobody's pathway is straight in life. Trust me on that. Sometimes, you have to go a bit wiggly to come back on the path, or, to have a break to go back on the path. There is no right pathway. Do not just give up and think that's it. You're still young. Trust me. I'm going to give away my age now. I'm going to be 45 and I'm starting a master's in October. So if I can do that, anyone can. So I just want you guys to stay inspired.
Yeah, thank you so much. I wish you the best with that. And thank you to Priya, who joined us earlier in the show, and Soulma. Thank you so much. We may have to bring you back on because there's so much we need to explore further. But I hope you've enjoyed today's show. We'll be back again next Saturday with a different topic. So please do tune in to BHF Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. We're leaving you with our final song because it's India's Independence Day tomorrow. We're going to listen to Desa Rangila from the film Fanna. Happy Independence Day to anyone celebrating, and hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And congratulations to all the students who got their results this week.
रिश्ते जैसे